really NIL and the transfer portal in college football, but also a pretty big issue in college basketball as well, is something that led to him wanting to retire. It basically changed the game he's coached for the last 50 years. There was a roundtable, Senate roundtable regarding NIL, where there was various people interviewed. Nick Saban, former head coach of Alabama football, as well as some other athletic directors and conference commissioners, and also some players. And it was an interesting roundtable where they talked about the negatives, which Nick Saban kind of focused on, and they also talked about some of the positives, which some of the current athletes focused on, of how NIL is impacting the college landscape. And all this also sort of in the aftermath of the Dartmouth unionization decision, or at least their vote to unionize, and we'll see whether or not that ends up happening. But what was interesting from Nick is he talked about how really NIL and the transfer portal in college football, but also a pretty big issue in college basketball as well, is something that led to him wanting to retire. It basically changed the game he's coached for the last 50 years and really made it just about the money, right? Like, it wasn't about players who wanted to come play for him and develop under him and for him to help shape these young men. It was about how much they were going to pay the players, and the players want to go where they're going to get paid the most. And obviously everyone has their own opinions about that, and whether or not players should be paid, should be allowed to have this like open market system. But it was pretty interesting, just his comments really on the negative side. And then opposing that, on the positive side, you had some female athletes, some basketball players, talking about how, NIL has really made staying in college a viable option for them. They're able to put off going pro. They're able to capitalize on their social media, their social capital, really be very successful now instead of waiting. And that's really evident in women's sports, where you see the tremendous growth in women's sports, everything from the professional level down to the college level. Speaking of conference tournaments, the women's conference tournaments that started last week, seeing record numbers of people attending games. I believe every conference is reporting the highest numbers of attendees that they've ever had, both in person, and the highest numbers on television as well. So the growth of women's sports continues to be really skyrocketing, and I think NIL is a big part of that. It's allowing them to really capitalize on their persona and really getting their name and image out there, and it's allowing them to just build on it. And then you're seeing how that trickles all the way down to the viewing audience.